coming up.
Is there a difference between Native American women and white women?
I think Native women are better looking.
Better looking than white women? Ooh.
No, I always say that to my students. I'm like, if you learn one thing about Native people, it's that we're very good looking.
Are Native women better looking than black women?
I don't know.
Why you don't know that?
Well, because I'm like, I'm not gonna, the race, different other race stuff.
You scared to say that about the blacks.
Well, I'm not messing with black people, so I'm with them.
You're going to have Black Lives Matter burning down your house if you say
Well, and I mean, it really does depend, obviously.
You think you would still feel inferior?
I don't feel inferior.
But the Indians that white people make them feel that way, the white people made a mistake by giving the Indians too much free stuff.
We did not get anything free. They
y'all
stole
got free
everything.
Land.
No, that land was ours.
Free gambling clubs and all kinds of stuff.
Well, because we're sovereign nations, we get to decide what we want to do on our nations.
But that makes you lazy, though.
I disagree.
And one thing about white people, they love to work. You notice that?
That's not what I've seen. They love to steal.
What did they steal?
Our land, like our culture. Like they try to assimilate us. They wouldn't accept that we are the way we are. Like, I mean, I could keep, instilled heteropatriarchy. I mean, all these different things that were very violent systems.
What do y'all want now from the whites? What do you want them to give you?
We've been wanting them to leave us alone.
I want to ask you this really fast. You said that homosexuality is normal to you.
Yes.
And LGBTQ and all that is normal.
Yes.
And so if a man put on a dress and lipstick and say that he is a woman, is he really a woman or he just think he is, but in reality he is not?
If he believes he's a woman, I mean, if she believes she's a woman, she's a woman. So.
But in reality it's not, you just believe that.
It depends on, no, I believe that they get to be what they want to be.
But would you see a man, a woman in a pantsuit and saying that she's a man, but you see, with your eyes, you see as a woman, would you pretend that it is a man?
I would ask how they wanted to have their gender identified.
And you pretend that it's whatever they say?
I would respectfully believe that I'm going to respect their beliefs to identify as they wish.
But in your mind, you know it's not real.
It's real to me if it's real for them. So.
In your mind.
I mean, do you think I'm passing as a woman right now?
Are you?
Am I a woman?
You just made me nervous, are you?
I don't know.
You don't know what you is?
Well, I'm just saying.
What you is. That's black. You don't know what you are? You don't know what you is? You don't know what you are?
No, I identify as a woman.
And why?
Because, that's how I want to identify.
Did God make you that way?
I don't think God made me that way. I think that
Were you born a woman or a female?
I was born a woman.
Oh, okay. Is there a difference between Native American women and white women?
I think Native women are better looking.
Better looking than white women? Ooh.
No, I always say that to my students. I'm like, if you learn one thing about Native people, it's that we're very good looking.
Are Native women better looking than black women?
I don't know.
Why you don't know that?
Well, because I'm like, I'm not gonna, the race, different other race stuff.
You scared to say that about the blacks.
Well, I'm not messing with black people, so I'm with them.
You're going to have Black Lives Matter burning down your house if you say.
Well, and it really does depend, obviously.
What does it mean to decolonize the native body?
Well, that's a very detailed question. Right? Because one of the things, of boarding schools and of colonization period was to try to make it seem that our bodies are like nasty and not good, right? That they're unclean, they're filthy, right? So I think one of the things we need to do is to start thinking about like how our bodies are good, how we are good people, like how all of us is actually beautiful, instead of like trying to go to like white beauty standards or like not accepting ourselves as we are.
And so are white people making you feel inferior like that?
I'm not blaming that on, it's like, it's part of our culture. Our culture is very white dominated, right? It has very specific white standards of beauty.
So the white, quote unquote, dominated culture are making you and Indians feel less about their culture. less beauty, or they're making you feel that way?
Well, I'm just saying when you have all the shows, like all the books, almost everything about Native people is very distorted or negative or doesn't actually have anything to do with us, has to do with actually with white people, then it's hard to feel good about your own self and your own body.
You were not raised with both parents, your father and mother, right?
Right.
So do you believe that if you have been raised with both parents and you were close to your father, that you would be insecure like that?
Well, I mean, you'll be happy to know that I had a white stepfather.
I'm talking about your real father, though.
Well, I mean, I have no idea.
But just when you think about it, when you smoke on it, do you believe that? Do you believe that if you were close to your father, he was there, your mother and father were together, you loved your father, that white people or anyone can make you feel inferior?
No, I don't think that has anything to do with it.
You think you would still feel inferior?
I don't feel inferior.
But the Indians that white people make them feel that way, if they were raised as with two parents, decent examples, would they still be made to feel inferior?
Well, I think we should talk about why they don't get to be two-parent households, right?
Because they're not getting married.
Well, also because, like, you know, Native men, like black men, are incarcerated at very high rates. They're like serving our nation overseas.
They're committing crimes.
So, well, I mean, we're more likely to get caught too.
Right, and go to jail because they don't have money to get good lawyers.
Exactly.
So that ain't the white man's fault.
Well, I think it is, actually.
So the white man's to blame for everything.
Well, the thing is, no. I mean, because what I'm trying to say, too, is like working class white people are also not able to get like good lawyers, right?
Right.
But the racial profiling might not go, you know, they might not get pulled over for being, you know, driving while white, right?
But that's not true. That's made up. What the blacks are doing.
Well, that's what yeah, you and I completely disagree about that.
No,
so.
I'm black.
I know you're black.
I'm as black as the ace of spades.
Well, how many times have you been pulled over?
In my entire life?
Maybe
I'm just twice.
Saying,
I remember
saying,
twice.
Yeah. I mean, and you don't think racial profiling had anything to do with those situations?
Not one iota.
So.
Because I was raised different than the other blacks. I wasn't raised to hate the whites, blame other people. I wasn't born out of wedlock. You know, I had my stepfather, my mother got married before I was born, so I wouldn't be born out of wedlock. But black people, when I was growing up, black people got married. They believed in God. They loved all people. They treated everybody the same. So I wasn't blamed. I wasn't raised in a victim mentality. And so when I was stopped by the cops, I followed the instructions. They did what they needed to do. They said, thank you, sir, and they went their way. But the blacks today are acting out. They're cursing out the cops. They're running. They're criminals. They're running. What do you think going to happen?
Well,
how is that the cops' fault?
Well, I mean, it's very much. I mean, that's the thing, though. We're talking about structural inequalities that go back before the beginning of the United States. And you're not just going to, like, pretend that these things don't exist. You can. That's one of the ways you can go about
this. What did you say?
Structural inequalities.
What did that have to do with anything?
Well, if it's way harder for you to get housing, to get a job, to go to college, to have any ways to get ahead, that will make your life much harder to be like successful in the U.S. version.
So are you saying that it's harder for the Indians or the blacks to get a job?
For both of us.
But the blacks don't get the job because they don't want the job. They're lazy.
I mean, that I disagree. I mean, they say the same thing about Indians.
Because and the Indians are that way too. You know why? Because the white people made a mistake by giving the Indians too much free stuff.
We did not get anything free. They
y'all
stole
got free
everything.
Land.
No, that land was ours.
Free gambling clubs and all kinds of stuff.
Well, because we're sovereign nations, we get to decide what we want to do on our nations.
But that makes you lazy, though.
I disagree.
And one thing about white people, they love to work. You notice that?
That's not what I've seen. They love to steal.
What did they steal?
Our land, like our culture. Like they try to assimilate us. They wouldn't accept that we are the way we are. Like, I mean, I could keep, instilled heteropatriarchy. I mean, all these different things that were very violent systems.
What do y'all want now from the whites? What do you want them to give you?
I want them, we've been wanting them to leave us alone for a long time.
But they don't bother you guys. You guys chase them.
They do bother us.
How do they bother you now?
They come in and they'll like put like nuclear waste on our nations without like permission. I mean, there's still all these things happening. They like will try to put pipelines through our nations.
That's amazing.
Even though we disagree.
But that would provide jobs.
Well, at the cost of destroying the land,
But they're not doing anything with the land anyway.
Well, we don't want a pipeline going over the water source of the whole nation.
Well,
does that make sense? Especially when the white town was like, don't put it through our country, right? Don't put it through our place. Put it on the Indians' land, and that's exactly what they ended up doing.
I need you to define something for me. Heteropatriarchy. What is that?
It's exactly what you think it might be. It's like patriarchy, but then like making sure we're talking about heterosexuality.
Straight men.
So, like just like straightness, period.
What's wrong with that?
Well, I think it's a very dominant source that everybody has to try to live up to.
Thank you. You're supposed to live up to it. That's why it's hetero.
Well, actually, I think it's oppressive to everybody.
Heterosexual men are supposed to bring women and children out of the hell that they're in. That's why it's heteropatriarchy.
Well, they're failing, so you better get it together.
Because you guys are acting so rebelling.
Well, I mean, then you all are not doing a very good job, so.
I agree.
So,
Men are weak because the mama destroyed them when they were kids.
Well, I feel like we have to work together. I don't know why that would be such a bad thing.
Heteropatriarchy, so you're in favor of that?
No.
You're against that?
I critique it, yes. Well, I don't think I'm not like completely, like people can go and do that, but the fact it like creates all this inequality that's the part I think is messed up.
You love heterosexual?
Do I love I mean, I think people can go be heterosexual. That's great.
What do you mean go be it? Do you love it though?
Do I love it? No.
Would you prefer a straight man or a gay man?
I don't prefer men. So
oh, you like women?
I like different types of people, so.
You mess around with women though?
Yes.
You a lesbian?
Yes, I identify as queer woman.
You a lesbian?
Yeah, you didn't. How did you not get this from your research? I do queer indigenous theory. That's like my other thing.
But I didn't know you were a lesbian.
Well, I identify as being queer.
But you don't look like a lesbian.
Well, what are we supposed to
No
look
wonder you don't want to
like?
have a baby.
Because I have more options.
You are a lesbian?
Yes. I mean, yeah, you could. I mean, identify as queer, but.
A queer lesbian.
Well, I mean, yeah, lesbian has its own.
I'm stunned that you're a lesbian.
So, I don't live in the suburbs or.
But why you look so feminine if you're a lesbian?
Because that's the way I choose to, to be in the world.
To be feminine.
To
like
be
a
feminine.
lady.
To be, yeah.
And so, do you like hard lesbians?
It depends on the person. Yeah.
You like lesbians that act like men?
It really depends on who it is. So.
Wow.
I mean, I also just really love beautiful women of all kinds of types. So.
But not that much love.
So. Well, I guess I do.
You have just blown me away. I was blown away once before. I was interviewing a white male Catholic kind of a guy, and he had his collar on, and I never thought of him as a homosexual.
Right.
And then he said to me he was a homosexual. I'm like, you're a homosexual? And then when he was sitting, it made me take my, focus my eyes, and I saw that he was homosexual.
Because we said it different, like
yeah. So how do the lesbians know that you're a lesbian?
I mean, I don't know.
So when you're out at the bar, do you like wear your lesbian hat or something?
I mean, I guess you do kind of sense that somebody might be, queer, I guess. So, or not. You just ask people, right?
So what is it like knowing that you surprised me right now, that you're a lesbian, but you don't look like it, you don't act like it?
I actually love to be surprising.